has helped me get through that. And I know many of you who come on this channel, who gravitate towards my content, are going through hard times and you are looking for a way to structure your life that gives you more fulfillment. Hello, lovely feminine friends. I am so excited to do today's video. This is a video that has honestly been in the works since my first pregnancy, which you know is our angel baby, all the way until now where I'm going on at 9 months pregnant in probably a couple days. We are going to talk about the femininity lessons, the things that I learned about femininity, how my femininity has evolved throughout this pregnancy. I want to preface by saying that, of course, there's so much that I still have to learn in motherhood as well as going through labor and the end of the pregnancy, and I would love to talk about this perhaps in a vlog or a Q&A after I give birth, so hit the like button if you would like to see that. But I still think that there is so much to learn, even though technically this is my first full pregnancy, that I hope will help all of you, even if you are not pregnant or you're never going to become pregnant. I think that there's so much to learn about different types of feminine women in this world, and I hope that you can walk away from this video looking at femininity in a way that perhaps you have not seen it before. You know, I'm always super invested in the comment section, so at any point during this video, leave your comments down below. I love going through all of them. I've already said hit the like button, and if you are new to the channel, I would love it if you would join the femininity revolution, which has truly become this amazing sisterhood of women who support each other through living a more traditionally feminine lifestyle. Okay, so let's get into the first topic where I really had to grow as a person, which was accepting help. I talked about it in my feminine habits video, which I made several months ago. I'm going to link that above as well as down below. But the whole concept of accepting help, having people gift you things or do things for you, especially when you're in a vulnerable state physically and emotionally when you are pregnant, is something that is going to help you step into your femininity, because it does have that aspect of vulnerability, that quality of receiving. Even if you consider yourself more of a naturally feminine person like myself, if you are a woman in today's modern 21st century society, this will be difficult for you to do to some extent, because growing up in our culture today, we have been told that we need to do everything ourselves. We need to do it all. There's so much pressure on women to be independent in the sense that they need to carry the burden of whatever they're going through. But remember, traditionally, pregnancy has been a time in a woman's life where it's not just involved her and her partner. It used to be a community thing. I think that's really what stems the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a big support system to help a woman go through pregnancy, even if you had a pretty easy pregnancy like myself. It's okay to lean on people for advice. It's okay to acknowledge that you don't really know what you're doing, especially if you're a first-time mom. And it's okay to admit to yourself that you do not have the energy to do everything that you might have done before. And I think this can be applicable to many different women, not just those of us who are pregnant right now. There are different times and trials in your life that you will go through where you cannot live up to that expectation of being that independent woman. And I don't think that anybody should feel as though they have to do that. So many of you know that I'm a big advocate of women not burning themselves out, and I do feel as though the cultural landscaping of today causes for women to burn themselves out, to push themselves beyond their physical limits. And a big aspect of tapping into your femininity is asking yourself if you are doing too much. You might have to say no. You might have to cut things out of your life, especially in today's media-driven society where so much is happening and changing on a day-to-day basis. You might have to tell yourself, today I am tapped out, I am overconsumed, and I just cannot do it. And that is totally fine. The next thing we're going to talk about is the emotional state that you are in when you are pregnant. Now, I am a person who considers herself to have a lot of emotional regulation. That's something that I've developed throughout the years, having gone to different schooling programs as well as different jobs, learning to section off my emotions and really tap into what I feel in a more appropriate appropriate setting. But there's this thing called hormones when you become pregnant, and the lines in those times when you feel as though you can freely express your emotions are a little bit more blurred. One of the most beautiful things about my pregnancy is that it has really ignited a fierce energy in myself. And when you think about fierceness and boldness, you often think about masculine energy, that outward competitive energy. But what I've come to learn and what I've advocated for in the past on my channel has been this concept of feminine leadership. And being pregnant has truly helped me recognize that quality in myself. There are so many ways to tap into feminine leadership that doesn't have to do with being a CEO. When I talk about leadership in a feminine sense, this is truly the quality of understanding that you have powerful influence on those in your sphere by your behavior and your energy. A masculine energy would be more in tune with telling people what to do or organizing and systems. A feminine energy would lead through inspiration. You kind of think about that woman that has the je ne sais quoi. And because you have all of these hormones pumping through your body at peak levels during pregnancy, you have a unique opportunity to understand how the way that you feel and how you choose to project that to other people can influence their behavior. I've noticed this with my friends, especially in the world that we live in today. Instead of harshly imposing my opinion about what I thought on a current issue, I have let go of the need to change people's mind, rather live out what I believe and perhaps include a few nuggets of nudging, such as, have you considered this? Or I was reading this and it's really interesting. That is just a simplistic example. Another thing that comes along with heightened emotions is not taking things too personally. I have realized through being pregnant that I actually am a highly sensitive person. This is a psychological term. You can look into it. There's a book written by a lovely psychologist that I actually read while I was pregnant. And for this reason, I have had to put up boundaries. Like I talked about in my last point, I have had to identify where I am just tapped out, where I am consuming things that are causing for me to feel frantic. I think that many women and many people don't acknowledge their limits when it comes to what they're consuming or the people in their lives, because there is this innate human desire to make the world a better place or to make things easier for yourself. And that is not bad. But you have to recognize as a feminine woman that you're not going to actually make a difference by coming from a place of that harsh negative energy. I've talked about before in a Q&A that seldom few people change their mind by being told what to do. People don't want to be told what to do, especially if they're not in the headspace to absorb that information. And of course, there are practical ways that you can guard your heart and manage your emotions. Another simplistic example from my life is I used to have this app that would track how many people followed me. It was kind of like this thing for creators, and then it would also track who unfollowed you after what story they saw or after what post they saw. But I realized that this was incredibly detrimental to my self-esteem because I would hyperanalyze everything that I did and everything that I said instead of being a state of being of acceptance of myself. So for you, you have to analyze your life and think about all of the situations where you are putting yourself in an unnecessary position of criticism or conflict. I think about the college student. Is it really necessary for you to engage in that heated debate with somebody in your class that you know is not going to change their opinion at the end of the day? All right, so the next one is a big point. It is truly distinguishing the difference between taking care of my body versus actually taking care of my body. Like I've mentioned a couple of times so far in this video, there is an aspect of surrender that comes with pregnancy, of vulnerability, and your body is rapidly changing faster than it ever has before, faster than when you were in puberty. You are essentially becoming a totally new person, and you are caring for another human being in your body, and that is physically taxing. I've come to really understand culture's obsession with productivity. Even in my homemaking, I always considered myself a go-getter person, and it wasn't until pregnancy where I realized that I might be pushing myself physically to a great degree. You know, you don't always see it often in my vlogs, but I am 90% of the time standing up. Of course, being pregnant, that is not so much possible anymore in the third trimester, and even earlier than that. There are certain discomforts because your body is moving in different ways that make it that you need to take physical breaks. And I have so much appreciation for those of you who work physically demanding jobs while pregnant, because for me, even though I've had an easy pregnancy so far, I have come to realize that that is personally impossible for me. I've also become more passionate about the concept of splitting your life. I forget what I referred to it as in previous videos, but maybe sectioning off your life or living it it in sequence. But if you have the privilege and the luxury of doing so, I highly recommend that you section off your life as a feminine woman. You take different seasons for different life stages and you try to cut out everything else. Again, I know this is a privilege, and every time that I mentioned staying home or working from home or working part-time, I get criticism comments that this isn't possible for everyone, and I totally acknowledge that. But whatever you can do to really maximize the season of life that you're in with cutting out extra obligations is going to help you physically. In pregnancy, you really come to learn that pushing yourself too much is actually dangerous. And it's not only your life that you have to consider, but you have to consider that life inside of your body. I used to be much more of a people pleaser in the past, and I've come to realize that I can't do that anymore because I have other people who depend on me. And I had to kind of create this pyramid of my own personal needs, whatever that means for you. You know, I have me, my husband, I of course have to take care of my dogs. He must have heard that I was talking about him. And most importantly, this baby. And other things are going to have to wait. Now, I do want to talk to you about feeling actually comfortable in your body as your body goes through all of these changes. I talked about in the past, again, in my Feminine Habits video, that to become pregnant, I had to recognize that I wasn't eating enough food. And this is particularly difficult for me because I used to do modeling in my teenage years, and I competed in pageants, as many of you know, where I had to get down to a weight that wasn't necessarily the healthiest for me because it looked the best on the stage. Long story short, you look 10 pounds heavier on stage and on cameras than you actually are, so you have to get down to that point. So I had been kind of conditioned to think that way, and I don't regret it in the sense that it made me successful in that goal. But I am not in a stage of my life where I have to care about being extremely thin. And the gravity of the situation that really created an aha moment for me was understanding that if I deprived myself because I wanted to look a certain way when I was pregnant, would actually be depriving my child. And I was talking about this with one of my friends who works in the healthcare field, and she was actually telling me horror stories about women who dieted when they were pregnant and they were trying to be too stingy on their weight gain that actually had babies develop certain issues. And does the whole aspect of weight gain in pregnancy make me feel uncomfortable? Yes, of course, because you also have that added factor that you are more bloated, especially now. Posting my last vlog made me insecure, I'll be honest with you, because I could tell where in my face as well as my arms I was retaining more water. So you have the weight gain as well as the water retention on top of that, which can take a little bit of a toll on your self-esteem. So how does that tie into femininity? This caused for me to really reevaluate, even from the time of trying to conceive until now, how I treat my body. As long as I'm getting my exercise, I'm eating whole foods, there's only so much that I can do. And just understanding that this is a temporary stage in my life and that I will be able to resume, for example, more intense exercise after being pregnant has helped me get through that. And I know many of you who come on this channel, who gravitate towards my content, are going through hard times and you are looking for a way to structure your life that gives you more fulfillment. You might be going through a depression or a lot of anxiety. And so I kind of encourage you to take what I just said about pregnancy and apply it to your life. Think about those foods that are actually going to nourish you. Think about the exercise that makes you feel good, not just a checklist of going to the gym and doing high intensity interval training if you don't like that. What can you incorporate in your day? For example, walks, Pilates, that you actually enjoy. Feeling a responsibility for your body, such as I feel for my body currently because it's nourishing another body, while understanding that you may be going through a season of your life where there's a lot of transition, means that your health habits might not look like somebody else's. And speaking about style, you know that I'm a big advocate of a minimalist mindset, not necessarily being a minimalist, unless that's something that you desire, but a minimalist mindset has always been the underlying theme of my style and beauty videos. The reason why this is helpful for your femininity is because you don't want to look at whatever you have and not feel confident wearing it. Being pregnant with all the body changes, I have come to realize that this is more important than ever. So back to the concept of femininity. If you are going through something difficult in your life, you're going to want to take an afternoon and honestly purge everything that doesn't make you feel good in your closet, or that makeup that you wear just once a year that honestly isn't worth keeping in your drawer, because a cluttered home equals a cluttered mind often. And I truly do think a way to feel more feminine is to minimize your decisional fatigue. Having a flow to your life, knowing what to expect expect when you open your closet doors is going to give you freedom that will help you feel more relaxed. And when you feel more relaxed, you're going to feel more feminine and you're going to have more energy to outpour to those that you love. And lastly, a short but very important point that I have learned throughout being pregnant, throughout this journey, is how I want to reinvent softness. I did make a video a long time ago about how to be feminine and soft, but what I mean by reinvent it is I have been able to ask myself, how do I want my child to remember me? One of the things that I have admired most in the feminine women that I've come in contact with has been their warm energy. It's really been challenging to try to be more understanding, to try to be more compassionate while pregnant, because back to the emotional side, you do have heightened emotions and things irritate you or make you anxious more easily. But exercising that muscle of compassion, of understanding other people, of recognizing that whatever you're going through, other people don't deserve to be on that end of your negative energy. You know, just because I don't feel good doesn't mean that my husband deserves nagging. Just because I feel like I have a short fuse today, it doesn't mean that my mother deserves that I don't give her the time of day when she calls me. It's so cliche, but people will remember not what you said to them, but how you made them feel. So the tone of your voice matters. If you need to take a second to yourself and just distance yourself and calm yourself down, I've had to do that a couple times in my household because, like I said, my husband doesn't deserve my short temper when I feel irritated about something because he's not the one pregnant. And this doesn't mean I don't share my emotions and all of my concerns with him in an appropriate timing. But that's the thing, understanding the appropriate timing. And I know that when our child is born, there are going to be instances where I might lose my temper, but I don't want those to be overshadowed by the softness that I show towards him. I want him to remember me as a nurturing mother, and becoming a nurturing person is not very natural to everybody. And the first step in doing that is really being brutally honest with yourself. All right, friends, I'm going to leave it at that. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have a couple more weeks of pregnancy, so I'm sure there's going to be so much more that I'm going to learn on this journey, as well as going through labor, and I would love to discuss it with you after the baby is here, after I take my short break. So follow me on Instagram if you are interested. I will try to put out 1 or 2 more videos before the baby gets here, depending on my energy level. That's another thing about pregnancy. Sometimes you can't always stick to all of the plans and all your to-do lists that you had intended on sticking to, but we're just going with the flow. I am so grateful again that all of you are really doing this journey to motherhood and through life with me, and I look forward to our next video. Lovely feminine friends, hit the like button if you haven't hit it. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.